Hi, I'm Joe Aiello. I'm the field coordinator with the Rail Passengers Association. I'm joined by our communications manager, Matty Butler. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about Measure RR, the Caltrain investment bond ballot measure that's going on right now in the Bay Area. Matty?
Thanks, Joe. So this is a 1/8 cent sales tax in the Tri-County area to fund Caltrain through 2050. So San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara counties, these are all going to be on your ballot for this November 3rd. Rail Passenger Association position is to vote yes on this measure, so let's dig into that. So we've had weeks of political wrangling. In August, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors finally cleared a way for voters to consider a tax measure on this ballot. So these efforts provide a dedicated source of funding, but it also helps save Caltrain from the bankruptcy process.
So while we advocate for so many things around the country as an association, why should the passengers themselves in the area support this measure?
Well, we've got some pretty great reasons to support this, I think. I always try to not be too biased as an advocate and consider, what each community needs. And the needs of the peninsula, I think, are very transparent in this regard. Caltrain currently is funded 70% by its operating revenue from ticket sales. So that's not really a predictable source of funding, especially while we're in the COVID recovery process. So passing this would provide $100 million annually. So that funds long-term upgrades, electrification, lots of processes to keep the system running as we recover from the pandemic. The agency had warned before about the need for additional funding, the need for support. So this seems like a pretty transparent way to provide that.
Well, you mentioned the $100 million a year for the next 30 years. So if this measure is approved, what does that funding do for the three counties in the area?
It does a lot. We're looking at everything from San Francisco to Gilroy and sort of the functionality of Caltrain within that and how they can budget knowing that that funding is available to them. So, expanding service, increasing capacity. During peak, we would see 5 trains per hour per direction, upgraded to 8 trains per hour per direction. And also just to serve as a model for like other transportation agencies and advocacy groups in the Bay Area, and sort of how to push for those investments to advance capital projects, how to make sure that you stay funded. And I think the last point, most importantly, is the reduction in traffic congestion and air pollution. We'll see sort of as each economy recovers, what the reduction of cars on the road again will look like.
And in our research, while we were getting ready to make this video, we got a couple questions from local residents, from members over the last few weeks asking us about these things. And so what happens to Caltrain if people vote no?
That is kind of a dire future to me. So we would be looking at a delayed recovery trajectory. And this is a delay of about 2.5 years if Caltrain was allowed to bankrupt. So that is 2.5 years of worse traffic, more road wear, thus leading to more road repair. And frankly, it costs us more to shut a service down and then restart it, as opposed to accept the limitations and the financial parameters in which we exist right now. But also the job loss. I think if we don't talk about that and what happens when people vote no, is that we're seeing Californians that will lose their jobs. Engineers, people who work in maintenance. And so, as the Bay has this massive influx of people, this demand that needs to be met, this kind of reduction through a no vote, I think it's really detrimental to our communities.
And last question we got, most of the critiques surrounding Caltrain is the service. The service is costly and the average fare is too high. It's unfortunately something we see on a lot of commuter rails around the country. Yeah. How will the affordability program, which has actually been tied into some of the literature for this measure, how will that help level the playing field for workers returning to their jobs in the peninsula?
So one of the most common and I think valid critiques of Caltrain is that it's a service for the peninsula. It's a little bit more expensive than taking Valley or taking BART, definitely more than taking a bus. So using the affordability program to make sure that fare increases aren't happening while this measure is being passed assures ridership that they will be able to stay on board. I mean, there have been plenty of services that are weighing out whether or not an increase in fare is a safe measure to take at this time. But a lot of the information that we're seeing shows that through a twofold effort of acquiring funding outside of just fare and also maintaining affordability will create sort of a good symbiosis of service moving forward.
And how can locals like yourself help spread the word on this measure?
The best thing that you can do, honestly, go talk to your friends, make that face-to-face, socially distanced, mask-wearing time with your neighbors, and talk to family members in the Tri-County area. Tell them to vote yes, because this is really an essential opportunity to keep our services and keep our passengers' rights intact. We've dealt with traffic in the Bay, we've dealt with construction. This is one way that all Bay Area people can help to reduce that impact on our highways and on our infrastructure by utilizing passenger rail in a smart, effective way. So I would encourage you to check out rescuecaltrain.org. This is an initiative that I support, I've vocalized my support for, and I think they're doing a lot to provide really easy to follow materials for locals.
Maddie, thank you. And thank you for watching. If you have any further questions, please reach out to our staff, narp@narprail.org, and across all social media platforms at Rail Passengers. November 3rd, and even today, go out there and vote. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.